Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you may be, or good evening or good night. This is Jen at Jen's Arty Inclinations, a place to create, share and play.
Hi everyone. This is this gorgeous little piece that I got in Happy Mail that I showed you recently, and I'm pretty sure that this has just been done out of a 12 by 12, so I've sort of used it as a prototype. Isn't it so sweet? I just fell in love with it instantly. Anyway, this was the version I did in my recent video, so this is what that piece inspired me to do. It had a lovely big flip out journaling space, and I did a back pocket in it, and then it had the front pocket as well. But if I wanted to actually follow the little piece and measure off it, because I thought, I'm sure this is by a 12 by 12. So sure enough, it was 3 inches wide, which means you can get 2 out of one 12 by 12 sheet of paper. So this is how I worked it out, using that little prototype. Firstly, folding it in half, and that will give you your back pocket. I'd love it if anyone knows someone who's done this, because obviously, it's not my original idea. So if anyone knows any other videos, let me know. So then I measured the top to see how far down the top flap went down, like flapped over. And then I also measured the bottom. So then I had my little top flap that I'm making sure is folded down really, really nicely. Hey, J-Bear is my son in the background. I think he's singing. Anyway, and then I measured roughly the bottom piece so that it would come up as well. And I folded it both ways to make sure that that's a really nice fold there. All right, so folding the long piece back again. So as you can see, there's nothing complex. It's just over 2 inches down from the top. Then it's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 inches. So yeah, the bottom flaps up about 5 inches just under that. So then you've got this lovely bottom flap, and it makes your pockets. Cutting out one of the corners, and that will make your second pocket, your double pocket. Isn't that clever? So right, now I've cut that out. The top piece comes up, and then obviously this piece would be the same length. So, you can chop it down a little bit if you want. I'm just taking the edges off slightly, just so that it sits really nice and flat and there's none of that fold, but it is so slight that you don't even notice once you've done it. Now, I'm just folding down the top to make sure it would definitely go over the top of those pockets, and I wanted to see if I could just make that front one a little bit lower. So I've done that, just trimmed off a little bit of the edge. Now you can save that little piece that you trimmed off for decoration or for extra reinforcement. To make sure that I've got them both with the same thumb hole, I just punch them together. So there we are, magic. I've inked all around the edges. Now I'm just doing my little top flap and I'm rounding those corners. So then just before I rounded my corners, I did decide that I would just trim slightly across the top there. Now what I'm doing is I'm trimming the piece underneath the flap, and that just helps it fold more evenly. So, that just happens because you get that little bit of creep. All right, so now I'm just gluing down my top flap, and you can actually turn that into a pocket. So you could put a thumbnail on one side and make that an extra pocket. I noticed in the prototype that whole thing was a pocket, but I decided that I would make it just the one long one. Now, as you can see, the second pocket, you're using the back of your scrapbook paper. So you're turning it over. So see, this one has plain on one side and printed on the other. So then you can see your pockets, both of them quite easily. So cute. And if you don't have a two-sided scrapbook paper, do what my amazing friend Kylie over at Kylie's Card Craft does, and that is stamp on the back of your paper. And then you'll have a two-sided paper. I mean, you could also do a bit of coffee dyeing on the back of it or watercolour, or, you know, so many different ways. But, you know, stamping is a nice, easy, quick way to give you a two-sided look. I do apologise for my son enjoying himself there in the background. You know, non-speaking does not mean quiet. Anyway, back to where we're at. How easy is it? It's such a simple structure, such a clever structure. You don't even need to do the back pocket. I just thought, oh, this is too easy. I really have to show you how this is put together. I really loved it. Now, I've done my hole punch on the top there off centre. How silly am I? But that's all right. Now, I decided I would just do string this time rather than do the policy pocket. So I'm just folding off or folding over a little scrap piece. This came from the top of my scrapbook paper. I have folded it in half, done a little hole punch, inking around the edges, and now it's a stopper. So I've got string goes through the holes both ways around that stopper. It's a nice way to keep it nice and flat. Because I wanted to just do a single string around, which gives a similar look, and then just tie it off, as you can see. So I do a single knot and then I just do a simple loop knot, and then you can pull it so that way it's easy to untie, and just, you know, another way I thought I'd try out for this little piece that I'm doing now. Now, I did glue that stopper down. I found that worked quite well. And when I'd done that, I thought, oh, I should have made it longer because then it would have glued down easier. But that's all right. So, you know, I tried to paperclip it down to see if that held it well enough, but I still wasn't quite convinced. So then I cut out a couple of other little strips just to place over the edges and, you know, make sure it was really nice and secure. Gives a little bit of texture on the inside, or you can cover it up. Yeah, as you see, that single little loop just means you pull one thread and it all comes apart nicely. So there we are, the nice long pocket at the back. And then we've got the two front pockets. So I was going to cover over that, like just with a little sheet of paper, but I decided I kind of liked the texture that it gave, and so I didn't. Alrighty, now look, there are any number of ways that you can close these kind of structures up. So here I've just used, you know, the single piece of string, but you can just use a paper clip and that can hold it. It could be a decorative paper clip. Another way you can do, obviously, the policy style with the little circles like I showed you last time, but you can just use buttons. And these could be cardboard buttons even. They wouldn't have to be, you know, real buttons, but then you can just tie them to the page or simply paper reinforcers. Really, possibilities are endless. Anything like that. All right, so here is, well, I was going to say prototype, but, you know, it's a proper finished piece that I got in Happy Mail that completely inspired me, and she did such a nice job on it. Then it has this lovely big pocket all the way up, plus those two front pockets, very easily tied around. Just a really nice piece. And her little circles there, they're actually just glued. So she's got the eyelets in them, but they're actually glued to the back, which is wonderful. Or I think they're only glued to the back, or she might have actually put the eyelet reinforcers through the card and covered it underneath. Not quite sure. So then there's the one that we made together. So two little pockets, remembering that you can cover that inside cover depending upon what your closure is, and the secret one in the back. So if you do put one in the back, it might be an idea to put a tab on it just so that people know that it's there. But then we just tie it off. So I just do a knot first and then I put my loop through so that, any second now, so that then I just have to pull it once. Just, making sure it holds tight, and then it just sits on its own nicely. So yeah, nice quick one, remembering you can get 2 out of one 12 by 12. So I think that's fabulous. And your little offcuts, you can just use them as decoration. Take care, everyone. I'd love it if you could leave me a comment below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed what you saw today. And of course, please subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you next time. And in the meantime, keep creating. Enjoy.